we're so excited to come together and get a little bit nerdy over the science of personal growth, personal development, and coaching. I'm so excited to be here with you today, Reese, and to chat about something that I think, I don't know, it's just a kind of a sweet, lighthearted topic to kind of open our hearts. So I'm really excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so excited to talk about this.
Amazing. So, for anyone watching, I want to just kind of highlight and call attention to those moments in our life that take our breath away, right? I know that those are things like on our subconscious level, we're constantly seeking out, right? But these are things that we can build into our day in kind of like little bits and pieces, add these little moments of awe, right? That inspire us, that give us those intuitive nudges, right? So today we're going to talk about those kinds of movements and what it does for our brain and our physiology, and then just share a little bit about how Reese and I kind of personally go about bringing on to our life on a daily basis. So good. So
So
the first thing, I love it. So the first thing I want to highlight, and I was kind of sharing with Reese right before we popped on, is I've really been reflecting this week on how sometimes we talk about, being on, being focused, going towards our goals, and then we're also at the same time keeping an eye out for all of the things that are in our environment that we're kind of filtering, right? And filtering it in a way that better serves us. Um, but there's this space that's kind of a third space where we don't really need to be on. We don't even really need to worry about filtering. We're kind of just in this place of absorption, right? And that's kind of that space that we're in when we're talking about awe. So things like when we see a sunset, or when we meet someone for the first time that's going to be hugely important in our lives and we know it. So say there's a baby that's born in the family and you go and you meet them, maybe taking a walk on the beach at night, seeing the stars. These are moments that can sometimes feel few and far between, but in reality, our body has this physiological response to it that's so good for us, that we can kind of create little bits and pieces of in our day, every single day. And so one of the things that happens when we're in this third space where we're not really super on, we're not really having to filter so much, is our default mode network, which is just a term that basically refers to kind of the state that we're in when we're just going about our day unconsciously processing things. It's the state that we're in when we ruminate, for example, and when we're kind of just driving in our car and kind of just thinking to ourselves, that state that we're in. We can turn that off and turn off sort of the all the language that's present in that moment, and we can allow ourselves to absorb and take in information for what we want that to be. When we do that, it lowers our inflammation. That's something we've talked about lately. It becomes involved in our dopamine reward pathway. So we start to seek those moments out more and more. And like I said, if those moments feel kind of fewer and further between, it's a good time to kind of stop and reflect on what it is that makes us feel this way, that gets us into this third space, and try to bring more of that into our lives. So one of the things that I would recommend doing for sure is to take some time every single day to make sure that whatever it is that is in your environment, there's at least something there that is inspiring awe, right? So whatever awe means for you. So if you're on social media throughout the day, maybe following some accounts that have nothing to do with your typical day-to-day life, but that bring real magic into your life. So maybe it's a science sort of based social media account like National Geographic. Those are places that I tend to follow, so that every now and then I know I can get that little introduction of that into my dopamine reward pathway, and I feel that in my day, and my default mode network can kind of turn off for a little bit, and I can just absorb that feeling, right? And there are so many other things that you can do as well. So I'm going to pause here for a second and see, Reese, is there a way that you kind of build these moments into your day that you want to share with
oh my gosh,
whoever's watching?
I love this conversation because, as you know, I've been spending a lot of time in Florida, and I think everyone loves different places. Like some people are like, I love New York, I love this, I love that. For me, there is so much that puts me in that state of awe when I'm here. Like almost every night, the sunset, it's so pink. And I can't even take, like when I try to take a picture with my iPhone, it doesn't even show how beautiful it is. And I'm like, this is how God designed sunsets. Like it's just so beautiful. And then here we can see the stars way more clearly than I can when I'm in Canada. So I just like look at the stars, and then like the palm trees are right there and you can see the stars so crystal clear, and it's just like, oh, so beautiful. Um, so those are like the biggest things. Going to the beach and just like being in the ocean and like tasting the salt, and it's like the ocean is warm. Like it seems so simple, but like I'm used to like dipping your toes in a lake and it's like freezing cold, like you don't even really want to go in. And here it's like room temperature. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, like literally the only word I could use to describe it is awe. And then especially experiencing it through the eyes of my kids
Yeah.
and just running, and like I look at their little fingers, their little chunky, chubby little fingers, and I'm like in awe. So
Yeah.
those are the big things, and I'm grateful to be here because it's every day I get to experience it now.
Yeah. Oh, we have so much in common. Reese, when it comes to like what inspires opera. So I totally hear you with that. And what's funny is like you mentioned, um, a few things that call to mind. One of the cool places of research, if you're interested in studying awe, is how it changes our behaviors too. So we've got, of course, these internal reactions, right? The lower inflammation, turning off our default mode network for a little bit. But we also tend to, as humans, engage in more pro-social behaviors. So we're kinder to others, we're more generous when we feel this sense of awe. And so there's research, for example, that shows that if you live in an apartment building where you see like concrete and like, or brick walls, things that don't really to you inspire awe versus when you're in a building where you can see trees and nature, you tend to act differently towards others depending on where you've spent your day. So if you spent your day being able to actually see trees, for example, you're going to make kinder decisions and more generous decisions. And one of the ways that this is kind of thought about is that when we are in a moment where we're inspired by awe and our default mode network turns off, we kind of step back and we center less of ourselves and more of the big picture into like our point of view. Um, NASA refers to this as the overview effect. And so if you've ever, been interested in, for example, like, learning about astronauts and what it's like being in space, one of the common things that they experience is this overview effect where you do take the step back, this experience of awe when you see space, but when you see Earth from afar, all of a sudden it decenters your priorities a little bit, just at least in that moment, so that you are thinking very differently than you were before. And I think that this kind of expansion really adds to the neuroplasticity that's associated with so much awe. When you're seeking it out, right, and you're bringing that into your life, it's so healthy for us on so many levels to kind of seek it out. And so I know realistically, we can't all go to the beach all the time. We can't live in like the most amazing penthouse apartments all the time or go to space, but there are things we can do. And so research just suggests,
Just
like,
go to
yeah,
space all the time. What?
I know, right? Maybe one day, like there'll be that elevator that they're building the space. But like realistically, like there are different, ways that we can, get at that. And so if it's something as simple as taking a walk wherever you live and trying to get a sense, getting out of your normal routine and exposing yourself to awe. But also too, sometimes we bring in technology. There's more and more research that suggests that if you don't have access to these things, trying a virtual experience of it will give you a similar effect. It's lessened, but so say, that's something that, you're, say watching a movie, for example, or just putting on YouTube and putting some ambient videos in the background, this can support that as well. And so just feel ready to take those little steps throughout your day so that you can feed into your neuroplasticity, give your mind a chance to shut off its default mode and kind of just get into that absorption space where you don't really need to worry about filtering. You don't really need to worry about overthinking or focusing. You can just let that experience happen. I think it's such a beautiful thing. And so it's good to call that to mind, right? As we're doing the work,
Yeah.
our environment can be very, very inspiring to our brain in a really, really healthy way. And that's just one of the examples.
Yeah, yeah, it was just
Yeah.
that what you were saying, like, um, just being out in nature and being surrounded by awe makes us have behaviors that are kinder and more generous. And so it's like we need to be doing that. We need to be adding that to our life. And like literally this morning, I was leaving my 6 a.m. Pilates class, which I don't usually do that. It's a miracle that I did a 6 a.m. Pilates class that early. But I like was leaving. I got into my car and I saw this little lady walking with like all of these bags, and like I just had to like reach in my wallet. See, I had $25 cash. I just got it, and I was like, "Do you need this?" And it's like, I think I probably would have done that even if it was cold. But yeah, you're right. Like the weather, the beauty. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much to be grateful for. Like, if you're so grateful, why wouldn't you want to give and just help someone who needs it?
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. So yeah, in so many levels, I think that it's helpful to give ourselves that chance. And yeah, it is such a place of abundance. And you
Mhm.
see all the natural like sources of awe around us. So I
Yeah.
super, super love it. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So, what do you do to bring awe into your life?
So I'm being very active about it this year, especially Reese, because I think I've been very much like we were just talking about like social media and all that. I've been on it, a lot sort of in the background. I realize how much time I spend doing that in my day. And so I'm really trying to like take that time and allot it towards other things. So I joined my local astronomy club. We have been going out a lot. I know, right? And it's so cool because it is super cool. And as we're filming this, we've got like, I think a few more weeks left before we lose sight of Saturn's rings. So it's like, it kind of encourages you. It's like, okay, like I'm going to get out and see Saturn's rings before it's gone for a little bit. And when you see that, you realize there's a whole other planet like out there beyond ours, like all of the things that we, concern ourselves with. Not that it's not valid, but it's here, right? And there's so many things that are going on elsewhere, and it gives you that perspective. So that's something that I'm doing for me, but also like my marriage, my children. Like it's so fun to experience that together, and it's so I'd say relatively easy to do. We just go, a short drive away. We can even walk and do a lot of these things, but I'm really proactively building it in this year.
Do you
Yeah.
use like a telescope to see Saturn? Like, to have telescopes there?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
we have a couple telescopes, but we do like if you look around, like check out, if you're watching this wherever you live, there's probably a local university that will offer you, a chance to check out like their observatory and use theirs. But here where we live, there's a lot of NASA scientists who sort of like in their spare time they do this, Smithsonian scientists who do it too. So definitely take a look around and see if you don't have access to a telescope, you probably do somewhere near you if you just like do a quick little search because yeah, that's just one example. But for me, that's a really big way to inspire awe. And yeah, it's more accessible than you would think.
I love that. We need that.
Yeah,
My kids
I
had a
love it.
telescope, but I could never figure out how to use it.
Yeah,
I came out black. So,
yeah, it has a learning curve. Yeah, but see,
it's
that's on the other end of it, the
great.
awe. So, I
Awesome. Well,
love it.
thank you so much for sharing that. It's so nice to consider new things that rewire our
Yeah,
brain. And so, just that reminder of like being in nature, looking up at the stars, taking in the sunset, that actually helps us rewire our brain, lower our cortisol, manage our stress, be kinder, all the things that we want to come really easy and effortless to us. So, I really appreciate you sharing all that.
of course. Yeah, I love being here. Amazing.
You can see you said so activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reduces your heart rate, blood pressure, and pro-inflammatory cytokine. So that's amazing.
Yeah, so amazing.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
so much. And if we'll leave some links below so you can check out more of what we're talking about and how you can learn more. So thanks so much for being here, Aubrey.
of course. Thanks for having me. We'll see you soon.